This is major emergency breaking news. All right, we just had a warning issued by the U.S. Army. All right, the U.S. Army is worried about dams and bridges during the solar eclipse. They're worried something could happen with dams in the United States and bridges during this eclipse. All right, and they're warning people to stay away from them and stay off them during this eclipse. That's what's happening right now, and this is just another warning that we've seen on top of all these other warnings. Now we have the U.S. military and U.S. Army saying that there could be compromises to our bridges and dams, and it also could cause emergency situations where people are stuck on them and clogged up on them, right? So just another warning to think about and another reason to stay away from these mass gathering areas of the eclipse. All right, so let's get into the details here really quick. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos a day, keeping you guys updated on these big warnings and this big news. All right, but you can see here, this warning was just issued by the Army, and there was also just a state of emergency declared in Arkansas, right? So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer in Arkansas is warning of this, and they are saying that people need to stay off bridges and dams. All right, you can see here it says Army Corps of Engineers sounds caution about traffic on Arkansas dams and bridges during the eclipse. All right, and we also just had in Arkansas as well, a state of emergency was just declared by the governor. All right, you can see here it says Arkansas governor issues state of emergency due to travel impacts for Great American Eclipse. All right, so are they potentially preparing for some kind of disruptions to bridges or dams that people have to travel across, right? Are they anticipating some kind of disruption? There's definitely going to be a lot of people, and they probably don't have that many people normally on these bridges as well, and that could be overwhelming them. It also could cause a lot of traffic, and there's also things like with dams, there's potentially gravitational pull effects from the moon and the sun aligning. All right, we know that the moon is the main cause of the movement of tides, right? And dams are essentially giant walls to block water, rivers, lakes, right? So there could be a pool in that area during this solar eclipse that it normally doesn't have, a gravitational pull on the water there that's stressing out the dams too much. So maybe they don't want people on them for that as well, right? So this is serious enough for the U.S. Army to issue this warning, and they're the ones that maintain a lot of the dams and waterways and water systems. The Army Corps of Engineers, they are the ones that maintain it and keep it working, right? So listen to this warning. It's another warning. Put this in your warning bucket for this eclipse. These are the strangest warnings we've seen in decades. I've never seen all these different types of warnings that they have for this. And there's also things going on with our atmosphere and with our ionosphere as well that could potentially be causing geological issues, right? So there is potentially a connection between solar activity and geological problems like earthquakes. And by the way, this earthquake that happened in New York was very shallow. I believe it was only 3 miles deep in the earth, right? And some earthquakes, to put it in perspective, are 500 miles deep in the earth. And a lot of them are pretty deep. So this was a very, very shallow earthquake. Very strange earthquake. And during the solar eclipse, the ionosphere it has a massive hole that is essentially put into it during the eclipse. Right, so you can see here, this is even coming from NASA. They're even warning of this. They're saying day to night to back again, Earth's ionosphere during the total solar eclipse. And by the way, things like HAARP affect the ionosphere and manipulate it. They use radio frequencies to alter the ionosphere and alter the plasma in it. So what is going on during the eclipse is that this plasma shield that is essentially formed, that blocks us from the sun, it is formed when it interacts with the radiation from the sun. This plasma shield is formed by interacting with the sun. All right, so when it's nighttime, this plasma shield dissipates, but it slowly dissipates as the Earth goes into night. All right, so the backside of the Earth that's in nighttime is not protected by electromagnetic radiation. That's why we see things like auroras at nighttime. That's why you only really see them at night, is because the ionosphere, the shield, the plasma shield protecting the Earth is kind of open right now. It's very thin. It's not as dense. So the radiation can now enter the lower atmospheres of the Earth. All right, so during the eclipse, that same thing happens with the moon. The moon blocks out the sun during the eclipse. All right, so this part of the ionosphere, the shield, it's only thick and sturdy when the sun's on it. But when the sun is blocked out, it creates a hole in the shield that is then replaced slowly as the moon moves across the Earth. All right, so it kind of rips this hole in our plasma shield of the ionosphere, of the outermost layer of the atmosphere, and it can potentially allow radiation and coronal mass ejections, solar flares, things like that to enter this hole temporarily as it's reforming as the moon moves away. So it's creating a hole here and then it's moving away. It slowly reforms again. But during this process, the ionosphere is weakened, right? And that's what NASA is studying right now, and they're even launching a rocket into it right now as well, right? And these electromagnetic disturbances from the sun can potentially trigger earthquakes and potentially cause geological disturbances because it's reacting to the electromagnetism from the sun. The Earth is magnetic and it's reacting to the magnetism from the sun, and the shield is punched a hole in it on the direct side where the sun is facing. All right, so it's kind of like punching a hole in the shield of the Earth. And you can kind of see here this graphic. This was from the 2017 eclipse, and you can see that hole there that's just punched in the ionosphere, and it slowly reforms as the moon moves across the country. So that is one of the main things they are worried about. That's one of the major implications here, is that there could be radiation leak, and also the sun, these CMEs could affect things like electronics and communications. That's why we're getting all these telecommunication blackout warnings as well, is because that excess radiation could be absorbed by the electrical grid. It could be absorbed by your cell phone, electronics, even your car. These things could absorb this radiation and cause problems, essentially fry your electronics. All right, this also could affect grounding of the Earth, potentially temporarily, where things that depend on the grounding, the electricity grounding, right, even your home, everything's grounded, that could even temporarily be affected because there could be electromagnetic disturbances in the Earth's crust, right? So These are the things that they're worried about. I'm not a scientist. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything here. But this is what I've been studying. I've been studying this stuff for years, and it seems like something's going on, and they could manipulate this event as well to do something big, right? They're firing rockets into it during the eclipse into the ionosphere. So be prepared, be ready. We're getting all these different warnings, and even if nothing happens, literally nothing could happen. But what happened with this earthquake, the New Madrid earthquake that happened in the 1800s, I made a video on this almost 2 months ago now, a month and a half ago now, really documenting it, because it really hit me when I saw the path of this eclipse that that's exactly where the fault line is. And the earthquakes happened months after the solar eclipse. All right, there was an X marks the spot solar eclipse just like we had now over that fault line, and that's right there next to Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, right where they all converge right there. That's where that fault line is, right along the Mississippi River, right? And this is the 2017 path, and everyone knows the 2024 path that's going up right now in a few days. All right, so these earthquakes happened a few months later, going on 6 months later, spread out. There were 4 different earthquakes that happened. All right, so be prepared, be ready. These earthquakes in New York were potentially a warning sign and potentially a red flag for what's coming next. And look at this earthquake map. We've had even more earthquakes today. Look at this 3.0 just today on 4/6 in Oklahoma. Look at this. We had a 2.6 just today in Texas, 2.5 in Texas. We had another one today on 4/6, a 2.5 in New Jersey. All right. We had a 2.5 today in California, Gilroy. Another 3.2 in Berkeley, California. These are all today, just happened today. Also a 3.4 in Petrolia, California. All right. And this is the pressure map of the United States. And look at this. We have earthquakes in Texas, Oklahoma. This pressure is building right in this region. The New Madrid fault line is right over here. All right, so this is big for our country and potentially for the world, because if we have a big one in the United States, look at all these ones in Alaska. All right, this could send the pressure triggering down into South America. All right, this path is going to travel down into South America, and it could shift across the Atlantic Ocean over into Africa and Europe as well, and potentially up into Greenland and Iceland, and we could see more disturbances there and even volcanic activity there. Look at this. There's been a lot of stuff going on. All right, there's been a bunch of earthquakes in Puerto Rico because there's a fault line right there. Look at this. All today. These are all from today. This is a lot of earthquakes. These are all from today. 4/6, April 6, 3.2, 2.6 in Alaska. Look at this. This is a lot. All right, so we could see the big one. We're seeing this movement move through the chain. All right, these things are going to go through these fault lines, and the pressure is going to be shifted all throughout the world. So this earthquake in Taiwan seems to be a big start of all these other earthquakes that have been hitting the United States. All right, so make sure you guys are getting ready. Nobody knows. Nobody knows the day. Nobody knows the hour. Nobody knows when it's going to hit, what's going to happen. It could be nothing. But we're seeing a lot of activity, and we could see something big in the United States or across the globe. Right? Look at these big earthquakes. Look at this one right here. Right? 5.0 in China just yesterday as well. There's a lot of activity going on. Right now, a 5.0 in Indonesia. 5.1 Papua New Guinea. All happening today. This pressure is being relieved and the plates are all readjusting. And potentially the solar eclipse could knock something loose, potentially, in the United States. Alright, so thank you guys. I hope you have big blessings for your life, your family. Hope you're getting prepared. Hope you're getting ready. Get your gas tanks filled up, your water tank filled up. I just refilled my water tank today, cleaned it out. 200-gallon water tank, refilled it back up. Get these things filled and be prepared. All right, so thank you guys, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.